Now I am joined by the wonderful ladies of Rebates. Is that the name that I came up with the other day for us? Yeah, exactly. And so these three wonderful pricing and rebate leaders, I mean, I don't come across many female pricing and rebate leaders, so this is a pretty exciting thing for me as well. And we're just going to dive deep and understand each of their stories around their digital transformation and their enabled transformation, and how things have shaken out inside their business, the business problems that they were trying to solve, the stakeholder engagement, getting people on the bus, on the train, either, whatever, the plane. All of the above, exactly. And then the results that everyone's sort of experiencing as well. So I am going to start with Monique in the middle. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about ITM and what you guys do.
Sure. Well, kia ora. I'm one of those Kiwis that you referred to before.
Yes.
So I'm Monique Mantell. I'm Commercial Finance Manager at a company called ITM, and we're based in Auckland, New Zealand. Myself, I'm a chartered accountant, but I sort of do lots of bits and pieces around the business, a lot of projects, governance, ESG even, and I manage the team of transactional accountants and rebates as well. So ITM is a cooperative company, so our shareholders own us. We have 104 shareholders across New Zealand. They are building and timber merchants for the trade primarily. We also do have some frame and truss store entities as well within that mix. They can be both if they wanted to be. And at Support Office, we support them with mainly the buying side of their business. So we have a procurement team who goes out, negotiates the deals with our suppliers to buy everything that you need to build a house, essentially. So we are selling direct to the trade. We do a little bit of retail, but we're more the trade focus. And we're spread from Kaitaia in the North Island down to Invercargill in the south. Not so much in the cities, more of like a regional sort of approach to things. And one thing to note about cooperatives, and I might mention this a bit later as well, is they do run their businesses very independently. So even though they might have the same brand on their doors, they're running their businesses independently. And we've got a range of sophistication, shall I say, with those stores. Some of them are par stores. Some of them are cooperatives actually within the cooperative, or more sort of a corporate sort of background. So we have to be able to cater to everyone. And they also compete with each other as well. And I've got another competitor in the room here, a guy from
Another Kiwi as
another
well.
Kiwi, yeah.
Who knew? All the timber merchants of New Zealand are here today.
Yeah, we want to be a
So if you want a good discount, we should ring the family, James. Good stuff. Okay, so Sam, moving on to you, kind of different end of the retail, well, not retail, but I guess bricks and mortar spectrum. Not mums and pops run store for you at all, no.
No, certainly not. So yes, my name's Sam Nugent. I'm the finance manager at Coles, and my portfolio is own brand and manual deal income, which is where Enable fits in with us, as we've kind of, I'd say recently, but actually been on the journey with Enable for almost 2 years, kind of implementing RDM system into our manual deal income process. So yes, very different challenges to Monique. We're more of so many people, so many stakeholders, so much complexity, and trying to bring that all together and trying to simplify the processes a lot to make sure it's a lot clearer, better governance, better structure, less risk, and a lot better supplier collaboration. So that was kind of the challenge that we were faced when we kind of worked with Enable to implement the platform. Yep.
And everyday low prices.
Every day. Amazing. Much cheaper than Woolworths if you come to Coles, I promise. Everyone loves pricing here, it's true.
It's true. It's true. I can even make pricing gags up now. That never usually lands in any other setting other than today. So thanks, guys, for indulging me with my pricing jokes. Verenia, bring us on home. Tell us about you. Tell us about Batcore and all those great things.
Hi, everyone. My name's Verenia, and I am currently working with Batcore on a project to do with implementing Enable. I am similar to Monique, CA through experience, have been working in the industry for many years, and have my own consulting firm at the moment where we provide fractional CFO services. And for this particular engagement, I get to work with that wonderful Batcore team over there to be able to bring the opportunity around rebates to life in a more automated fashion. And we've been working with the team for the last 18 months to get it to this point, and we're fast approaching our first milestone in order to go live. So we're quite excited about that.
Right, so we've got three very different ends of the, what do we call it, the bricks and mortar and goods and sales of purchase and products. Nice one, Kath, that's a tongue twister. Okay, so let's move right on. Let's now set the scene and why change was needed. So Sam, starting with you, before launching Supplier Central and Enable, what were the biggest pain points of running manual deal income processes? Which once again, if we were anywhere else, no one would know what that means. But everybody in this room knows what a deal and income process is.
It's actually great. I feel like I was chatting to some people before and I was like about to explain it. Everyone was like, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like if I talk to anyone else at Coles, they're like, not really sure. It's MDI. They don't even know what the letters stand for.
Oh, there we go. MDI. I like that.
Yes, but kind of before we had the platform, everything was, well, manual deal income. The word manual is in the title. Just everything was manual. So even when we were kind of working with our suppliers to document what they had agreed, kind of activity dates, all that stuff. It was all back and forth in email. Everyone was talking to different things. No one knew if it had been approved, if it hadn't been approved. I think internally we just had so many additional processes because it was so manual as well. So from kind of a risk perspective, kind of a team member hours perspective, access to information, we had to kind of sometimes put our access database on, pause because we had to do maintenance or whatever. So people couldn't even access the data 24/7. So there was a whole host of problems, which is kind of crazy considering how many dollars sit in there for Coles every year. Yep.
Yeah, wow. Verinia, looking back, what was the turning point that made Bapcor commit to centralising rebate management?
A few things. A few things along the way. So I might sort of touch on what Bapcor does a little bit.
Yes, that'd be great.
If that helps. I realized I missed it out last time. So Bapcor effectively looks after aftermarket automotive parts and services as well. So anything, I think more familiar brands that people might know in the retail space when they drive around is the Autobahn stores. They might be familiar with brands like Burson. So it's a very, very complex business. They've grown through acquisition over the years. They have about 1.5 million SKUs across multiple different business units, across multiple different locations across the country and New Zealand too. And that complexity is what started the discussion around how rebates are currently managed within the business. It has an incredibly complex footprint within the finance team as well, given the complexity of the business itself. So there were about 25 touch points within the organization just handling rebates.
25 touch points. Wow. Okay.
Across different team members.
Yeah.
And this is before you even talk about what does that mean in terms of liaising with a supplier, liaising with the procurement team, liaising with other stakeholders within the organization. So that complexity was identified and was a bit of a catalyst to encourage the business internally to assess what the opportunities were to be able to streamline that function, to be able to centralize it even, rather than having to deal with, as you can imagine, multiple spreadsheets and multiple points of information and versions of data. So to be able to independently understand what the footprint looked like, and then start a conversation on what the opportunities were to be able to streamline. And that's sort of what progressed into what tools do we have available to us? Do we need to do something internally? Do we need to find the right partner externally to be able to support that transformation exercise?
Okay, so lots of complexity, lots of different teams, lots of stakeholders, lots of problems to solve, and just needing to bring it all into one happy place to deal, reason, and execute upon.
Exactly right.
Oh, there you go. I've been listening. Monique, start us off. Can you explain the structure? You kind of touched on this around the co-ops earlier, and why securing buy-in is more complex than in a traditional business for you. So I think you said there's how many different shareholders in your business?
There's 104 shareholders.
104 shareholders, 104 board members. Almost.
Well, it feels like 104 bosses, believe me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I get their opinion every day. New Zealand is a small place. Everyone.
It is, and I bet you know all of them as well.
Yeah. So the saying goes like, we're one, but we're not the same. They all are different.
Yeah.
And they sometimes don't know what they actually need or want. So we've got to get the balance between their own self-interest and the greater good, which sounds very spiritual, but it's true. We're trying to work so that they can all be successful in what they do on a day-to-day basis. So support office is there to support them. And we're really not like a Coles where head office makes a decision and everyone just does it. They have to do it.
That's not exactly how it works, but I'll let you go for now.
In my imagination, that's how it works. Okay, maybe there's some resistance to that anyway. But, I get 104 people calling me if they don't like something. So and we can't just mandate to them. We have to collaborate with our shareholders. So their feedback's really vital to us. And their independence is what makes us good, but also it can be challenging at times as well. And we're spending their money at the end of the day, so we've got to do what's right for them.
And so I'm going to move us on now to talk about building a business case for transformation. And I think I mentioned you guys earlier, I was a Microsoftie for a long time, and my job was to travel around the world and tell people why digital transformation is so important. I think we did a pretty good job because most people are, on the bandwagon now for digital transformation, and now AI is the next thing that we're already thinking about. So thinking about the way that you guys built your business case in order to transform using technology for something that is quite complex and quite manual by nature of rebate management. So Monique, I'm going to start with you. When you were building your business case, what steps did you take to ensure it was robust enough to win the confidence of 100 of your 104 bosses? I mean, it was bad enough having my 2 bosses on stage today, but 104 is a lot.
Well, within the support office, we had to really make sure that we were collaborating with each other, right? So rebates had previously been thought of as a finance function, but it's not a finance function. No. It's a procurement function. It's a finance. There's IT as well. So we had to make sure internally at support office level, we had all stakeholders involved in the requirements gathering process. And, I had a long list of requirements. Mm-hmm. This wasn't the first time I'd implemented a rebate system, so I sort of knew what good looked like. Mm-hmm. So I guess another part of sort of getting the business case up to scratch is like, did it actually work with our strategy? Like, will it make us more money? Yeah, it will. So that was really easy, that part. Thank goodness. And I think the timing was right for us as well. And I've been with ITM for a long time. I've seen a real generational shift. There was, do I say it? The old guys. Yeah. The old guys who decided
They're
to start
always guys as well.
Yeah,
right?
and they met at the local pub to start the cooperative, and they weren't spending their money for that. They didn't want to spend their money, and they didn't want to share their data. And the younger generation, and some of these are actually the children of the people who founded ITM, they know about the value of technology and information and data and sharing. And, it's sharing within a safe space. It's not like AI where you're on the web, share it with anyone. It's sharing it within a safe space so that, we can help drive their buying decisions. And the business case, ultimately had to make it past the board. And our board is made up of 4 of our shareholders who are there to represent the needs of the greater. And 2 independent directors as well who are there to sort of knock some common sense into them every now and again. Mm-hmm. And so once we won their minds, we were away. Yeah, there was a lot that went into it behind the scenes. It's kind of just covered it, but essentially it was about making sure that everyone was on the same page.
Yeah, it really has got to a point now with digital transformation is like you snooze, you actually do lose, right? Yeah, you can't stand still. Hey Sam, what were the key drivers behind choosing Enabler as the platform for Coles and its suppliers? So
we knew that RDM was being used by a number of large retailers already in Australia, so that was kind of tick 1 confidence. And we had actually a long-standing relationship with Perfectus as well, who Enable
yes, our buddies.
Interlinked with, so that kind of all introduced us on the journey, and then that's kind of where it stemmed from,
Nice. And then, so you said that you guys have been with us for 2 and a bit years now, was it?
Well, I think the platform kind of has been live a year and a half. I was just checking with Helen before. Yeah. But the journey has been a lot longer from kind of business case approval, initial conversations. So it's probably actually been 3 years in the making, I'd say.
Yeah, wow. Verinia, over to you. Rebate management touches purchasing, finance and suppliers. How did you align stakeholders across all those different various business units to get them all singing off the same song sheet to make this big piece of transformation?
Good question. I think it's a bit of an evolving exercise. The critical part that did make a huge difference was a level of enthusiasm around the opportunity of streamlining things. That then provided the first foot in the door around being able to have conversations across the entire business. This particular project was heavily supported through the finance team. So we've had some key stakeholders, especially from the finance manager who looks after the rebate space, to really help drive conversations across the key stakeholders, to drive conversations across senior leaders, to drive conversations across the team members who would actually be working within the platform or using the output from the platform. So having a very multi-tiered, multiple conversation plan to be able to even socialize the concept of what the opportunity was before we even got to the stage where we'd go, okay, this is what it could look like, give us some feedback, and then move into other parts of the business too. So it then spread out from just a finance initiative to what would the opportunities be if you involved a procurement discussion around it. What would the opportunities look like if you included marketing as part of the conversation too? Because rebates do touch marketing in every part of the business really. But I think elevating the conversation around where rebates were supposed to sit as a concept far away on your P&L versus the reality of where it actually did sit in terms of supplier engagement, your profitability as an organization, what it actually looked like in terms of handling and processing a transaction, helped drive the movement forward a little bit more.
And this kind of moves us seamlessly onto this next section, which is around overcoming challenges. And I think one of the biggest things I have learnt over the course of the last 5 years working in this industry, I was speaking to one of our customers recently, WD-40, and the two women in the finance team had been in the business for over 40 years. And they were lovely. They were lovely ladies. But rather than talking, they were very complimentary in terms of, now that they're all set up and running, the hardest thing inside their organisation was change, facilitating change. But we've done it like this for 40 years, and now we're doing it differently. And Monique, it kind of goes back to that old school versus the new school and thinking about technology. So, Verena, staying with you, I think you said the other day that you have how many ERPs? 20 ERPs?
No, over 13.
Over 13.
They're being consolidated over
Okay,
time,
but that's a lot of ERPs. That makes me feel a little bit sick. Data readiness was obviously a big challenge then with so many ERPs and so many systems, and also growing through acquisition, right? It's another data set, it's another ERP, it's another set of data to kind of mine. What lessons did you learn about preparing data for enterprise-wide transformation, especially when it comes to the ERP, the data lake, and the limitations that they have? And how did you decide what to fix versus what to work around?
Where do I start? So data, if I'm being completely honest, I think we were probably a little bit optimistic about what the data aspect of data needs, I suppose, were for Enable, right? But you're right. I think the more we started digging into the ERPs, what the functionalities was available within them, the type of data that each ERP had available, whether people were actually filling out that information, before you even got to a stage where you could consolidate it into a single point, which was the data lake, before you got to a stage of then being able to map it together, link it all, create a relationship between all these multiple sources of information to then use it in a format that was suitable for Enable was an incredibly long process.
Yeah.
I think the level of discovery that we have spent over the last quite a few months to really understand the entire workflow has been immense. But it's also been as a result of trying to also approach the entire project with an end in mind approach.
Yes.
So rather than just going, okay, great, we've got this information here in one ERP, we've got this information in another ERP. Maybe you should also keep that in mind while designing what an end experience should be for the rebate team, what the end experience should be for what the supplier might need, and what the end experience needs to be from a procurement team that will eventually handle that relationship. So we've tried to blend both together to then design, I suppose, how we pull our data and then work with it along the way.
And so we had this conversation on Tuesday, wasn't it? And I came up with this phrase of, you know, how you've got hoarders buried alive. It almost becomes like a data. You hoard data, right? You hold on to data because you think you need it. So when it comes to transformation around pricing and rebates, you really have to, you know, bring in those forensic cleaners to start clearing out what you need and what you really don't need and putting those parameters in place so you're not hoarding your data, right?
100%. And you're absolutely right. There's an element of hoarding the data, and there's an element of even understanding what data you are hoarding.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you think about ERPs, the language of what an ERP is supposed to be defining, so I think we were talking about it the other day, let's say a date. A date in one ERP might be a little bit different in another ERP.
Totally.
But it should be the same thing. It's a date.
Yeah.
But it is different. And then to be able to understand the variances along the way and then go back to what sort of data do you actually want to retain, hold, transform, it does take a bit of work and it does take a bit of intention to be able to identify and then work with your data teams internally to be able to pull it together.
Yeah, and pull it all together. So I think there's it's a terabyte of data is created every minute in the retail industry, right? That's a terabyte every 60 seconds. And if you think about the world in which we are operating in today, if that's the stat today, what's it going to be? You know, sort of 5 years from now, it becomes pretty freaky, and data hoarding is going to be a proper, real thing. Like you heard it here, guys. TM that. Monique, rolling over to you. When you rolling out Enable across a diverse co-op must have been a very challenging thing. What strategies did you use to bring members on this journey with you?
So we've given our members access to the partner dashboard, and so we had to really make sure we got it right, you know, the data right behind that, and before we actually presented it back to them. So there's so much that we did. Do
you need a drink?
I need a drink. I need a coffee. So we, as part of the sort of the long onboarding process, because it was a long time, we did sort of interact with our IT advisory committee, which is made up of a whole lot of our shareholders. And that was great to get feedback and guidance on the way. We also trialled the partner dashboard and the training that we developed with a trial group of stores as well, so that everyone was engaged. We'd been talking about Enable at all of our regional meetings, our national meetings, our annual shareholder meetings for some time, just to remind everyone, you know, this is what it's going to deliver. So not just for them, but also at a support office level, because it's not, you know, as much as they like to think about themselves, it's not just about them. So we had, you know, quite a lot of webinars to make sure that every shareholder had access to training, essentially, to get them on board. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think I've just seen in my calendar one for Monday when I get back. And just giving them the resources, access to all the resources as well. Just get all the shareholders informed. And it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have new stores joining all the time, or new staff at stores. And so it's an ongoing journey. We've got to keep reminding them of the benefits as well, and showing them leadership from support office as well, and actually showing how the procurement team can actually go out and renegotiate those deals based on the information that's in the system, and for them to trust the information that's in the system as well.
Yeah, it's around sort of like transparency, and isn't leadership 101? Over-communicate, over-communicate, over-communicate.
Yeah, and we definitely did that.
Good, yeah. Good stuff. Hey, Sam, your first full financial year on Enable, what has been the most tangible benefits that you've experienced so far?
So there's heaps, so I wrote a few down.
Good, great.
I feel like there's some really basic ones which, upon reflection, I feel like it's wild that we couldn't do this 2 years ago. But having access to the platform 24/7, we didn't have. Now our suppliers and our commercial teams actually see the same information, which, I mean, they should have been already, but it's all in the one place. It's so easy for them to talk to the same information. Everyone knows if the suppliers have viewed and approved their agreements, like all this very basic stuff that we just didn't have before has been a game changer for us. There's also an element of kind of like risk and internal audit improvements. So we now have the ability to allocate role types and control access based on user needs and preferences, which is amazing for us. Obviously, there's a lot of reduced reversals, rework, less manual checking, which is amazing, obviously, for my team because we look after that. So that's a big win for us. But I think also what we didn't realize before is that because the data wasn't really clear and in the same place, we couldn't really easily generate any insights. So now it's much easier for us to go and deep dive into a category. We can do better forecasting, better conversations with suppliers, even look at trends. Suppliers are investing more money in retail media, for example. So there's a lot of things that we could do, but it would take us 2 weeks to pull together. Now, if someone asks us a question, we can actually pull together some meaningful insights. So that's been amazing.
Wow. Okay, so visibility has been a key thing, and visibility to help you make better decisions and hopefully impacting the bottom line in a really healthy way.
Oh maybe.
The name of the game.
I
the
cannot
name
confirm.
Of the game. Yes, I've worked with the Coles PR team in the past. She didn't say anything. Okay. On the subject of visibility, and visibility builds trust, over-communicate, over-communicate, over-communicate. Monique, what was the biggest objections that you faced, and how did you address them?
Well, just trying to get our shareholders to spend the time looking at the information, because they're busy people, right? So having frequent webinars that suits their time, that was really important, which was a bit of a pain for me, but I think it will work out in the end. Just trying to think. Yeah, and just to make it easy for them, like try and make it easy, you know. Everything's been sort of delivered to them on a platter, and the data's, you know, the Enable platform's quite easy to read and understand. And it's one thing I love about it is that I've got all these different inquiries from people now looking at the information.
Nice.
So those who have spent the time looking are starting to get benefits out of it. So I think we tend to have this learn from each other sort of approach it. In the cooperative, if you get like a few champions out there, they're going to drive adoption for us. So we don't really have to do any more after that initial big sort of push. And so I've got questions coming into my inbox saying, how can I improve my buying? How can I maximize my rebate? And that's what it's all about.
I love. That's great stuff. And I guess it's, you know, it goes back to that change is hard. But when you make it, and when the platform is designed to be user-friendly, it becomes an enabler, doesn't it? Oh, no pun intended. That was clever marketing, hey? Yeah. Sam, how has Enable, the platform, improved collaboration and governance for you guys, both internally and with your suppliers?
Yep, so I think actually there's some suppliers here, so I feel like I better fact check some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But kind of as I touched on before, it's just seeing the same information at the same time has been really helpful for us. I think suppliers have a much better, you go to one spot, you get all the information rather than trawling through your emails, having to contact a category manager. Yep. So that's been really useful for them. It's also been much clearer about what they have spent, what they are going to spend. It's easier for them to forecast and plan as well. So that's been really great. It's been able to drive better conversations from between our suppliers and our category managers. Internally, much better conversations with kind of our internal audit teams, external audit, all those kind of compliance functions, and also our like supplier compliance functions. We're all very conscious about, you know, what we're documenting, how we're documenting it, making sure that we have all of the right approvals and things like that to prove that we're doing the right thing. So I think that has been much easier, and that's been a much better collaboration between all of our internal teams as well. So we're all talking the same information as well, which I think we haven't really been as good at doing before we had the platform. Yeah.
Okay. I think, Andrew, you describe it as better collaboration drives better commercial outcomes. And so it feels like both internally and externally it seems to be what you guys have been experiencing, which is great. All right, I've got another hard one. You get all the hard ones.
I'm ready.
Yeah. How do you...
Set up right now.
Yes, okay. How do configurable workflows and audit trails change the way that your teams work compared to old manual processes and how you did it in the past?
I'm very excited to see going live.
Okay.
Right. So I think all the work that we've been doing right now has been to design what that new world is going to look like. So we've spent a fair bit of time trying to understand what the current workflow is, who actually touches rebates across the entire workflow, from a supplier purchase, from Bapcor purchase from a supplier all the way through to what do you do with the handling of the rebate at the end of it. So we've spent a bit of time designing the approval process, who needs to be involved where, and trying to streamline it and centralize what that needs to look like. But in terms of the eventual result of it, I think the impact of it is expected to be a significant improvement in terms of the time required, the fact that you can actually have incredible transparency around who's doing what where, have access to the same information, very similar to what Sam was touching on. I think having a centralized location of information, having the same version that people are talking to, I think that is a huge, huge, huge simplifier for multiple queries and questions and concerns around validity of data, or just simple things like which version of the file did you pull out? Is it version 5.4 final 3? So I think we're trying to move away from that level of multi-handling of a particular activity to a streamlined step-by-step system, which should just be automated.
Nice. Simplicity, right? Driving the simplicity so you can be more focused on bigger tasks that make more strategic bottom line impact.
Absolutely. We'd rather have a bit more attention spent on analysis and really being able to drive strategic conversations around what does the contract need to look like.
Exactly.
Are we purchasing correctly?
Yes.
Rather than did you upload it correctly?
Is the data in the right place and
100%.
is it doing the right thing? Okay, now let's look ahead, ladies, the lovely ladies of Rebate. Sam, you talked about how you had supplier approvals sitting in emails and they weren't necessarily automated. And what has sort of been the response internally from your team and also from suppliers, and being able to automate and just streamline so much of that really important data?
Yeah, it's been great. We've just recently had the automatic email reminders going to our suppliers for anything that's unapproved in the system, which is something we've never had before. We used to have to build a macro and then send them from an inbox. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, very old school.
Yeah.
But even something as simple as that, it sounds so basic, but even having like a clear structure of the email and then the link back to the platform, we've already noticed there's been a reduction in queries back from suppliers about their details and things like that. So it sounds so simple, but it actually has saved us a lot of time, so we can actually focus on other enhancements that we want to do within the platform. But internally, again, it's the same. It's just that it's all visible. You can check whatever you want. You're getting all these frequent reminders. It's top of mind for people, and it's easy for them to look at something, action it, and move on with the rest of their day. Like category managers are so busy. They've got so many things they have to do. They don't want to be doing all this admin to do with manual deal income. So yeah, it's been really good for us. Yeah.
Monique, how did you frame the investment in Enable so that members could see the long-term value, not just that immediate cost to get up and running?
So one of our strategic drivers was around rebate income and market share. And so Enable really was the tool that we needed to use. And like everyone else, it's about bringing all the information into one place. We had a combination of spreadsheets and some system stuff. But the amount of data that we had also imposed limitations on both of those systems, dare I say it. And so if it makes them more money, that makes it a lot easier, and that's kind of where we're going with it. And it's the transparency again that you spoke about as well. Stores actually have live access to where we're tracking with the deals, and so they can make better buying decisions with that. And it also means they can negotiate some prices better. We don't do all the pricing at support office yet. That's next stage. But it just makes everyone sort of move in the same direction together, rather than relying on the fake news of what a supplier told the stores the deal was when it actually wasn't that at all. Yeah.
It's the famous words of Jerry Maguire, show me the money. Yes, that's what it's all about. Verinia, how do you balance, you've got a big project on your hand, my friend, how do you balance speed of rollout with the discipline required for that data accuracy and ensuring the governance of the data? Yeah, all that really hard ones, because your project's so complex.
It's a complex business, terribly complex business. I might touch on data governance first.
Yes, sure.
Because that might be the easier part of it.
Yep.
Very complex business, very isolated historically. a lot of work over the last few years to be able to rationalize the footprint, the structure, the segmentation. The positive out of that is that it's also lent the opportunity for the conversation around data governance and standardization as well. So moving away from the 13 ERPs to eventually a much smaller number has encouraged discussion around what data needs to look like when it even goes into the system. So to give you an idea, one rebatable line of data needs about 85 rules to be able to identify it at the moment. We'd hope eventually it needs nothing, but until we get there, that's the level of granularity that's required to be able to get controls and governance organized before you can get to utilizing the data.
Wow.
The opportunity out of that is there's a lot more trust and comfort and robustness in terms of what has actually been pulled together to then feel a lot more confidence in going back to a supplier to say, hey, we're standing behind our numbers, rather than the opposite where we rely on the supplier's numbers in some instances. So that's been the primary focus. So cleaning up what you're pulling together and how, and then moving to a stage where even those rules hopefully will just diminish over time as more and more standardization comes in. And I'm so sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
No, that's okay. I'll just go back. No, where were we going? Oh, no, I'm lost. Governance. We were talking about data governance, data accuracy, and the speed, the need for speed of the rollout. How do you balance the need for speed?
The need for speed is an interesting one. We're trying to work towards a very tight close for what a month-end process needs to look like, and that then in return start to drive what sort of activities need to happen within the business to get to that point. So we're going with a perfect world scenario and setting a standard according to that. So we've tried to approach that end in mind view in a few different areas across the entire finance function, as well as the rebate function, to then be able to drive what sort of activities need to happen so that you don't end up spending unnecessary time and thinking about it from a risk mitigation perspective to then in return, I'm going around, but in return come back to the speed of delivery of both the results as well as utilizing the platform, as well as working with suppliers.
Now, we've gone with Jerry Maguire and now we've gone with the need for speed.
Yes.
I just need one more Tom Cruise analogy to bring us home, girls, and I'm really, really struggling with it right now. But just to sort of round us off, Sam, looking forward, what role do you see automation playing in shaping deal management at Coles?
So I think the more automation we have in this space, the more time we have for actually actioning data-led insights and having better commercial conversations with our suppliers is the crux of it. And spending less time doing month end, less time doing reporting, and actually be able to move the dial commercially because we have the right information at our fingertips.
Nice, yeah, I love that. Monique, looking forward, what's the single most important factor in getting buy-in from such a wide group of stakeholders?
We've had to build trust, and that trust comes through that transparency that we've now given them from the system. Yeah.
Nice, and bring us home. Looking ahead to 2026, how do you see data readiness becoming a competitive differentiator for you?
I found the phrase for you though.
Yeah, what is it?
Mission Possible.
Oh yes, okay. Yes, good stuff.
So maybe I can answer that at the end of next year.
Okay.
This was Mission Possible.
Yeah.
I think for us, we're trying to really think about rolling out both the project and working with suppliers in a really intentional manner. The plan for the next 12 months is effectively to really be very, very clear about the structure that we've embedded for the project to go live with complete confidence for suppliers. At the end of the day, it is a mutually beneficial relationship with a customer and a supplier in any instance. And the intention is around focusing on that to be comfortable and transparent and reliable for both parties, and then looking beyond that from there.
Awesome. Well, I think we're just going to round this up with, transparency, visibility, trust, and just shaking off those manual processes to be more focused on hiring more strategic strategies or strategic work means that's how you're going to show me the money for your organisations, right? Well, the lovely ladies of Rebate, thank you so much for joining me today.